From 1990 to 2004, Parma Calcio competed as one of Italy's foremost teams, qualifying for Europe in an astonishing 14 consecutive seasons and winning 4 pieces of continental silverware. They were dubbed Il Grande Parma, a powerhouse born from seemingly nowhere. Then, their parent company and chief sponsor, Parmalat, collapsed amid a staggering financial fraud scandal. But the story of Parma isn't just about a dramatic implosion, it's about an improbable ascent, fueled by ambition, tactical genius, and the deep-seated local pride of a unique Italian city. This is the tumultuous saga of Parma Calcio. Before the glitz and the financial catastrophe, Parma was a quiet provincial club. For over a century of its history, much of that time had been spent in the lower leagues of Italian football. It was a founding member of both Serie B in 1929 and Serie C in 1935. Parma had spent years yo-yoing between these two divisions, but relegation in 1966 saw them drop into Serie D. This fall was soon met with financial woes and liquidation in 1968, which saw the original football club of Parma having its sporting licence taken on by AC Parmense. The years following this once again saw promotions and relegations before settling as mainstays of Serie C. No more was expected for a team from a town of just 200,000 people, where volleyball and cycling all competed for sports fans' interests. But a turning point arrived in 1976 with the appointment of Ernesto Cerasini as club president. Cerasini, a local businessman who made his money in construction, was said to have been seeking a new purpose after his wife passed away. His most pivotal move came in 1985 with the appointment of Arrigo Sacchi as manager. Sacchi, implementing his trademark 4-4-2 formation, honing his systems of zonal marking and integrated pressing, took Parma up to Serie B at the first attempt. He followed that up in his second season by achieving a remarkable feat, beating the supreme AC Milan at the San Siro in the Coppa Italia. After steering Parma to within 3 points of promotion to Serie A during the 86-87 season, he answered Silvio Berlusconi's call and joined the Rossoneri. It was at the end of that campaign, with Sacchi on his way to Milan, Parmalat got involved. Under President Cerasini, they agreed a sponsorship deal with the club which would soon evolve into much more. The company was a local dairy operation that had expanded into a global food conglomerate, and it was seen as an extraordinary local success story. The fate of the club was sealed. Parma were about to experience a similarly explosive rise. Sacchi was succeeded briefly by Zdeněk Zeman and Gianpiero Vitali, before Cerasini identified Nevio Scala in 1989 as the man to take them to the promised land. Scala, who'd enjoyed a successful start to his coaching career leading Regina to Serie B promotion, was initially reluctant to leave the club, but he recognised the potential in Parma's project. The first thing he said to me was that he had a dream, Scala later recalled of Cerasini. He wanted to see Parma in Serie A. Scala, a man who worked meticulously on the training ground, immediately left his imprint. He shelved Sacchi's 4-4-2 system for a 5-3-2 formation, a hybrid system that could evolve into a 3-5-2 with fullbacks covering both wings. The change brought instant success. After competing at the top of Serie B throughout the 1989-1990 campaign, Parma beat Scala's former club Regina 2-0 in the season finale on the penultimate weekend to claim a 4th and final promotion spot. After 77 years in existence, Parma had finally reached the nirvana of Italy's top flight. Tragically, this triumph came too late for Cerasini, who died of a heart attack in February 1990. At the time, Scala even wondered if the owner's death might spell the end of his tenure, but Cerasini's son, Fulvio, thought about his father's dream and extended Scala's contract. This decision resonated deeply with the players and fans who understood the significance of what was happening. Cerasini's death actually accelerated Parma's revolution in many ways, paving the way for Parmalat to purchase 98% of the club with shares from Fulvio Cerasini. With the iconic Parmalat logo emblazoned across the breasts of the Parma shirts, they began their crusade. Tanzi entrusted the presidential duties to Parmalat colleague Giorgio Pendranaschi, who immediately set about enriching an already talented squad. The new owners splashed out on 3 players who had impressed in the Summer's World Cup in Italy: Brazilian goalkeeper Claudio Taffarel, Belgian defender Georges Grun, and a young Swede named Thomas Brolin. These new signings joined existing talents like Luigi Apollini and Lorenzo Minotti, reinforcing the backline, whilst Brolin was brought in as an attacking foil to Alessandro Melli. In that first season of top-flight football, Parma didn't even have a fixed training location. Players would travel to the stadium every morning, get changed, then board a bus to whatever patch of council-owned land or borrowed facility they could find. In many ways, this contributed to their success. As defender Luigi Apollini put it was a team that was born right there, that grew up in the middle of a public park. The whole city was involved in it together. Brolin's impact was immediate, an energetic presence in between the lines of midfield in Scala's 3-5-2 formation. He scored 7 goals in that first season, and all the more memorable for his leaping pirouette celebrations. But more than that, he provided energy and joy. Parma played on the front foot, with wing-backs encouraged to go forward in a way that was unheard of in Serie A back then. They finished a remarkable 6th and qualified for the UEFA Cup in their maiden Serie A campaign, conceding the joint 4th lowest number of goals, but the lack of goals scored was also a concern. Investment in the squad continued. Scala headhunted wing-backs Antonio Bernavario and Alberto Di Chiara, whose energy was crucial to his tactical approach. In the following season, their 7th place finish came as a disappointment to their increasingly rapacious owners. However, victory over Juventus in the '92 Coppa Italia final, winning 2-1 on aggregate, offered ample compensation. The triumph signalled the beginning of both a trophy-laden decade for Parma and an era-defining rivalry with Juventus. Parma's success was also accompanied by increasing exposure for Parmalat. The jersey became one of the most valuable international advertising tools, so entwined with the brand and club that some foreign commentators even called them Parmalat. While the cash continued to flow, Scala's enthusiasm and relentless work ethic were infectious. His team played rousing football, utilising swift counter-attacks and dynamic switches of play, all while maintaining a compact defence. Their shrewd transfer dealings maintained the balance between creative and industrious. The arrival of Colombian Faustino Asprilla from Atletico Nacional in '92 and Gianfranco Zola from Napoli in '93 provided star quality and guile. Their attributes were supplemented by the diligence and mettle of Nesta Sensini and Massimo Crippa. Asprilla, with his penchant for the good life and mesmerising footballing ability, quickly endeared himself to Parma fans. His status was cemented during the Cup Winners' Cup semi-finals, when his majestic double inspired Parma to victory against Atletico Madrid at the Vicente Calderón. Another magical night followed as Parma beat Royal Antwerp 3-1 at Wembley to lift their first piece of European silverware in 1993. It was a meteoric and spectacular rise. In the space of just 4 years, they'd become a serious European power. Domestically, they finished the 92-93 season in 3rd, most notably putting an end to Fabio Capello's AC Milan's 58-game unbeaten run. Scala would prove Capello's nemesis once again the following season, beating them in the European Super Cup in '94. The pinnacle of Scala's tenure came during the 94-95 season, which saw an incredible battle with their newfound rival Juventus. The two battled for honours on 3 fronts. Marcello Lippi's Juve came out on top domestically, beating Parma in the Coppa Italia final whilst finishing 10 points ahead of them in Serie A. But when they met in the UEFA Cup final of '95, it was Scala's men who prevailed, thanks in no small part to former Juventus man Dino Baggio. Having joined Parma that summer, the tenacious central midfielder scored the only goal in the 1-0 first leg victory and then equalised in their 1-1 draw during the return fixture, securing a 2-1 aggregate win. In their first 5 seasons as a top 5 club, Scala's team had claimed 4 major trophies. Although the deluge of silverware under Scala dried up in his final season, new signings continued to pour in. Parma became a magnet for world-class talent. They landed Ballon d'Or winner Hristo Stoichkov, together with Fabio Cannavaro and Filippo Inzaghi in '95. A year later, Hernán Crespo, Lilian Thuram and Enrico Chiesa arrived. In '98, Juan Sebastian Veron came along, and an outlandishly confident young goalkeeper, Gianluigi Buffon, emerged from the academy. This insatiable thirst for more was a hallmark of Callisto Tanzi's control. He coveted a marquee name who could change a game with the swing of a boot, and a Scudetto title had become an obsession. Stoichkov's arrival for an eye-watering fee of £10 million for a player in the twilight of his career was wholly calculated, coinciding with Parmalat's expansion into Eastern Europe. This also came with demands for tactical changes that Scala resisted, feeling it inhibited Zola's effectiveness. After a 6th place finish and no silverware in '96, Scala was replaced by a young Carlo Ancelotti. Ancelotti's tenure from '96 to '98 was marked by a tactical shift back to 4-4-2 and initial disappointment. Despite the star-studded squad, Parma narrowly missed out on the 96-97 Serie A title to Lippi's Juventus by 2 points. Ancelotti's refusal to sign Roberto Baggio, believing a luxury player wasn't the answer, further cemented his ousting after a trophyless season. The appointment of Alberto Malassani in '98 heralded the true zenith of Parma. Malassani was exuberant, forthright, and renowned for playing a carefree style of football. His character, embodied by eccentric antics and impassioned celebrations, resonated with the players and fans alike. He reverted to Scala's familiar tactical blueprint, and he had the personnel to make it devastatingly successful. The Parma team that won the UEFA Cup in '99 might have boasted the most talented starting 11 in Europe. Buffon in goal, Cannavaro, Thuram and Sensini at the back, Veron, Baggio and Alan Borgesson in midfield, Paolo Vanoli and Diego Fuser out wide, and Crespo paired with Chiesa up top. They obliterated the competition, beating Bordeaux 7-2 on aggregate in the quarter-finals, Atletico Madrid 5-2 in the semis, and Marseille 3-0 in the final. That team remains the last Serie A representative to win what is now known as the Europa League. Parma paired the success with another Coppa Italia triumph, and would raise the latter trophy for a third time in 2002. Then came Parmalat's collapse. A scandal with wide-reaching consequences. Financial cracks started to appear in the Tansi Empire, and the painful sale of Parma's prize assets began. Veron and Crespo left to Lazio for a combined fee of over £50 million, followed by Thuram and Buffon to Juventus for almost £80 million. But this was not enough. The full extent of Tansi's financial degeneracy was not revealed until 2003, by which point Parmalat had collapsed, in a scandal often referred to as Europe's Enron. The company, which had been the 8th largest in Italy and represented 1% of its national GDP, had accumulated debts totalling an astronomical $20 billion. Callisto Tansi was declared bankrupt and charged with fraud, embezzlement, criminal association, and sentenced to more than 17 years in prison. With Parma's fortunes tied both literally and figuratively to Parmalat, the club was put into a controlled administration and run by a court-appointed bankruptcy trustee until 2007. Just over 10 years after it had began, Parma's meteoric rise had been unceremoniously crushed. Parma avoided instant oblivion. Technically, the old club did fold, but a subtly renamed version sprung up in its place, taking over the contracts, debts, and crucially, its Serie A status. Still, the wax in Parma's Icarus wings had started to melt. They didn't compete for major honours in the decade that followed, sneaking into the UEFA Cup only once in 2006 after Juventus, Fiorentina and Lazio were all docked points as a result of the Calciopoli scandal. Then, in 2015, Parma went bankrupt again. This time they would have to start all over from Serie D, the 4th tier of Italian football. It was a humiliating fall for a club that had once been the pinnacle of European football, but this is where the incredible story of resilience begins. Their rapid return to the top flight, with 3 promotions in as many seasons, has been a sensational, perhaps unparalleled journey. It showed a deep-seated local patriotism, keenly felt among the people of Parma. Despite the chaos and the suffering that followed, many Parma fans would not take any of it back. There is a sense that the club are better for their trials and tribulations. For now, the fans can remember with nostalgia the triumphs of Scala and Malassani. At that time, their rise seemed inexorable. But as a local proverb reads in Parma, when you climb a tree, remember that the higher you climb, the branches become thinner, and you get further away from the ground. Parma's history is a stark reminder of the correlations between financial crises and Italian clubs. It's a story of incredible highs and devastating lows, for a city famous for its cured meats and cheese, which for a glorious decade also became known for its football and conquered Europe. The incredible rise and sharp fall of Parma, from being an unremarkable lower league side to a continental force in just 4 years, is a unique chapter in football history. What lies ahead for them? They rose back into Serie A for the first time last season and managed to stay up. Can they build again? Can they conquer Europe once more? Only time will tell. If you like underdog stories and football with a soul, hit like and subscribe. I hadn't intended for this to become a Serie A channel, but that's where we are. What are your memories of that glorious Parma side? Let us know in the comments below, and stay tuned for more football history, one incredible story at a time.